everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Amber Rose, also known as the Religious Hippie. You can basically follow me on any social media platform, or you can check out my official website at thereligioushippie.com. So I know that Advent started 2 days ago. It was on Sunday, that's when Advent started. But if you're still confused on what Advent is or where to get started, I got you. So first we're going to focus on the word Advent itself. Advent comes from the Latin word adventus, which means coming. We celebrate Advent over the course of 4 weeks, which signifies the 4,000 years of darkness before Christ's birth. During Advent, we're not just preparing for Christ's birth, we're also preparing for 2 other arrivals of Christ. Him presently into our lives, so welcoming him into our hearts, we're preparing for that. And then also we're preparing for his second coming. We don't know the day or the hour that this will happen. This is out of the book of Revelation, but we should always be prepared because he will come like a thief in the night. During the 4 weeks of Advent, you're going to see your priest wearing a few different colored vestments. The first one is a violet colored vestment. This one signifies royalty, repentance, and fasting. The second vestment your priest is going to be wearing is rose-colored vestments. Don't call it pink. It's not pink. So the rose-colored vestments are only worn on Gaudete Sunday. Gaudete is Latin for rejoice, and the vestment itself signifies, the rose color, I guess, signifies abundant joy. And then the next one you'll see him wear is white, which obviously signifies that Advent is now over because the color white signifies purity and light, and Christ's coming. So that's awesome. Okay, so moving on what to do for Advent. I know I made a video last year about this, and the year before I made a video about Advent, so this video is kind of just mushing both of those videos together. But I came across this quote from Saint Mother Teresa, and it says, "At this Christmas, when Christ comes, will he find a warm heart? Mark the season of Advent by loving and serving the others with God's own love and concern." I think that's beautiful. Saint Mother Teresa of Calcutta is a wonderful soul. She did so much for the poor during her time on earth. And so I think we can definitely give back in a lot of ways as well. So keep that quote in mind when you're trying to figure out what to do for this Advent. But without further ado, here's some things on my list that I always suggest you guys do. So the first thing I want to touch on is how to prepare spiritually. During Advent, this is a time for fasting, prayer, and reconciliation. So if you haven't been to confession yet, I highly suggest you do so during the weeks of Advent. And then of course, fasting and abstaining from meat on Fridays. Especially during Advent is when we should be preparing for Christ's coming, and we should really be fasting, trying to get rid of our fleshly desires, and really trying to unite ourselves with Christ again if we have severed that relationship through mortal sin. There's also a bunch of wonderful Catholic devotionals that you can do around this time of year. This is the one that I bought that I'm going to try out this year. It hasn't come in the mail yet. It's supposed to come tomorrow. But I'm so excited to start this because I just think devotionals during special times of the year just make it that much more special. You know what I mean? But then of course we have like Christmas novenas, like the St. Andrew novena. That's a huge one. A lot of people do the St. Andrew novena. And personally, I also highly suggest making time to do a holy hour at least once a week during Advent, if not more, if plausible. If you guys don't know if your church has a holy hour or not, I would highly suggest you go and ask your priest or the receptionist or whoever is in charge of the church scheduling and stuff like that. Usually they will have times and dates on their website, but if they don't, you should probably just ask or just type in, Catholic Adoration Chapel near you. It might be a little far, but it's worth it. Next up is getting an Advent wreath. I think this one's the most common one. Or if you have kids, make an Advent wreath. Get creative with stuff you have around the house, or you guys can order one, like a kit or something. Just get a bunch of supplies from the dollar store and make one. That's always really fun. Kids always have a blast with that. And I actually think Heather from A Mother's Life, Catholic Mom's Life, just put out a video about DIY Advent wreaths that you can do. She's really on top of all that stuff, and she has a bunch of wonderful kids. So if you have kids, I highly suggest checking out her channel. She has great arts and crafts, great party ideas. She's just wonderful all around. So I highly suggest that. And then of course, if you have the Advent wreath in front of your table and you guys eat dinner together, I highly suggest reading a little passage from the Bible about Advent, which is just basically the time leading up to Christ's birth. So you can basically read everything, I guess, up to Christ's birth, but mainly about like Joseph and Mary and her betrothal and her visit to Elizabeth and like all that stuff, that's all Advent reading. And so I think that'd be fantastic. Kids usually love that stuff. So I highly suggest reading the Bible right before dinner or after dinner. It's a really cute little just family thing you can do together. So let me explain the Advent wreath really quick. So the Advent wreath has 5 candles. There's 3 violet candles, 1 rose candle, and then a white candle in the center. This is similar to the vestments you are going to see the priest wearing throughout the weeks of Advent. But did you know that these candles actually had names? The first candle you're going to light on the first Sunday of Advent is called the prophecy candle, and that's a violet candle. On the second week of Advent, you're going to light another violet candle, which is called the Bethlehem candle. This marks, obviously, St. Joseph and Mary's arrival into Bethlehem. Week 3, you're going to light the rose-colored candle, and this is Gaudete Sunday, of course, and it just marks like the halfway point to Christ's birth. And then, of course, this candle is called the Shepherd's Candle, and it's my absolute favorite, not because I love pink, but because rose is in my name. And then, of course, the last candle is a violet-colored candle. This one's called the Angel's Candle. And then we light that one on the 4th Sunday of Advent. And then, of course, the big chunky white candle in the center marks Christ's birth, obviously. And so we light that one all throughout Christmas. And you would be surprised how long the Christmas season lasts in Catholicism. It lasts a very long time. I know that was kind of a long explanation, but I really just wanted to explain the Advent wreath to you guys because a lot of people don't know the symbolism behind it, and I think the symbolism's beautiful. So I just highly suggest you guys do research into the Advent wreath. I think it's wonderful. Anyways, other things you can do. You can get an Advent calendar, because they have like the little chocolates in there, and I think that's delicious and really fun, especially if you have kids. Just make sure they don't open everything at once and then you have crazy chocolate-crazed kids on your hands. That's no fun. I mean, it's fun for them. They don't care. But. Anyways, you can listen to Advent music, which is something I really enjoy doing. Advent music is different from Christmas music. It's like, O Come, Emmanuel, and like really pretty pre-birth Christ songs. That makes sense. We do not stand Mary, did you know? Originally, I said that like 2 years ago that I was like, oh my gosh, this is such a traditional, pretty song. And then I actually listened to it and I was like, girl, she totally knew. What are you talking about? I linked my Advent Spotify playlist below for you guys if you guys want to listen to it for the 4 weeks of Advent. I absolutely love this playlist personally, but to each their own. The next thing you can do is you can volunteer at a soup kitchen. My boyfriend and I, we try to do this at least once a week, but if you haven't started yet, now's a great time to start. I also want to say, if you can't find any places to volunteer, it was really hard for us to find a place to volunteer at. But if you ask your local church if there's any soup kitchens or coat drives or anything you can help volunteer with, they'll be more than happy to give you some kind of referral. Or if you absolutely can't find anything, then just do something nice for your neighbor or do something nice for your family without expecting anything in return. Maybe your mom's kind of tired from doing all the dishes because she's hosting, help her out with dishes, help her with cooking, but don't expect anything in return. And I think that's also a wonderful way we can kind of prepare our hearts and our minds for Christ, is doing it for Christ and doing it for the love of the other person without expecting anything in return. Next up, this is something I personally love doing, which is sitting down each night or at least once a week during Advent and reflecting over the last year. What went well? What did you grow in? What needed more work? Where are you at in your spiritual life right now? And just kind of reflect on the past year and things that you would like to do next year spiritually. What are some goals you have in mind for your spiritual life or just in general? Is there a specific virtue you want to start working on, or is there a virtue that you're lacking in that you weren't aware of before? It's really, really helpful to kind of reflect on the past year and go through like each month and kind of just be like, okay, this was really good. Oh man, I could have done better here. I could have done more volunteering there. It's just really helpful so we have a game plan for next year. And last but not least, decluttering. I think decluttering is a wonderful way to prepare our hearts and our homes for Jesus. I know some people will take one item each day during Advent and put it in a Goodwill bag to go to Goodwill or whatever, your thrift store of choice. But also I think it's important to declutter our hearts and our minds, because I think a lot of times we can get overwhelmed and we can kind of lose sight of the true meaning of Christmas, which we hear it since we were like really little. But the true meaning of Christmas is about Christ coming to save us from our sins. seasons. And so I think it's great to kind of reorganize our prayer life if we feel a little burnt out, or maybe it's been slacking over the holiday season because we feel stressed about things. Whatever it might be, I think we should go back to basics and rebuild our prayer life from the ground up. Declutter a bunch of things out of our minds and out of our hearts through prayer, and then that way we are truly prepared to receive Christ presently into our hearts during Advent. All right, so that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys have a blessed Advent. I will talk to you guys in the next video. Also, comment below what you guys are doing for Advent. I'd love to know. Bye, guys!